I welcome you all for the Ask Me Anything series, and I would like to thank Mrs. Rangapriya Gautam and Keertana Chandrasekharan for their time. So today's session is focused on digital marketing. The speakers are Mrs. Rangapriya Gautam, Director of Virgin Tech India, and Keertana Chandrasekharan, who is the co-founder and CEO of Bungie. Before going into the session, I would like to suggest few guidelines for the session to make sure that everybody is heard and everybody questions are answered. This is in a session called Ask Me Anything. So the participants can raise questions and post questions in the chat box. Also, I will request everybody to be on mute and unmute yourself when you want to share something or you need to ask some questions. So now I like to hand over the session to Mrs. Rangapriya Gautam and Keertana Chandrashekhar. Over to you, ma'am, and thank you.
Thank you, Sumitra, for the introduction. Happy to connect with all of you. As Sumitra mentioned, I'm part of Virginia Tech India. Here we are looking at research and education as a part of our endeavors. And then there are a lot of things that we do online, which is typically the courses. So we have currently launched data science and AI, and we're also looking at decision sciences and analytics, AI and robotics, and a few other courses in that space. With me, I have Keertana, who's the CEO of Bungie. Keertana, over to you. You're muted, Keertana.
I think she is in mute. You need to unmute.
Sorry, yeah. I've unmuted now, so sorry. Yeah, so I'm Keertana, the CEO of Bungie Digital. We are a digital marketing company, and we help brands in building their brands in the digital space, starting from developing their websites until getting their customers to notice them through social media, search engine optimization. So the entire gambit of digital marketing. And we also have a team that uniquely caters for startups in establishing their presence in the digital space. So yeah, good to be here. I think we could, Priya, on to you.
Yeah. So probably we can start off with some of the challenges that you as startups face. Maybe that could be one of the way that we could start this discussion. Because today I think everybody has to be an entrepreneur who's technologically savvy, but also to be digitally and marketing savvy, because that's becoming the need of the hour post-COVID. Having seen that trend moving towards everybody knowing everything, it's very difficult, but yes, we have to be geared up for these. But I don't know what the challenges that you all are facing uniquely for your brands. It might be good to have a open dialogue as to the specific thing that you would like to know from us, which will make us or the conversation a little more easier to begin with. So I mean, I could share some statistics in a bit of time, but I would like to hear from you all, what exactly are your challenges? Is marketing your challenge, or is strategy your challenge, or going digital is your strategy? I mean, is your challenge?
So we like to know about marketing, ma'am.
Okay. So marketing in earlier days we used to call it 360-degree marketing, because everything had to be targeted, whether it is print, online, billboards, or even if it's magazines, we had to target all that in earlier days. Today, I think the entire focus is on how we can target them digitally, because the statistics show almost like 6.5 hours is what is being spent by every individual on the phone or on the internet, which means that out of the 8 hours of productivity, they are all sitting in front of, I won't say an idiot box, but a very intelligent box now. So having said that, I think our marketing itself is now skewed to being just 180 degrees, which is a flat curve. I wouldn't say curve, again, a flattened way of looking at it, is by targeting only through preferential data that we get out of digital marketing, and then retarget and hyper-focus them. Having said that, there are 2 or 3 things that I would recommend for a startup. Typically is that, first of all, understand your customer, and where can we actually meet my customer is a very important aspect for every one of us to know before we go ahead and say, okay, digital marketing is the best way, but really we need to have a hyper-focused approach to marketing. Second thing I would think is that everybody is having websites websites, and everybody thinks that the first thing that we need to do is having websites. But then the initial idea is to, when you set up the website, you also have to make sure that you are searchable. So SEO is a very important aspect in today's marketing paradigm, because otherwise it'll just be very, very flat. I think I have some questions. I'll answer that as well. But meanwhile, Kirtana, maybe you could just continue from where I've sort of stopped regarding the SEO. I'm trying to see if I can see the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, so and I'd also go on. I think the first question is from the CEO of Incubation. So on digital and traditional marketing, the difference between that. Yeah, so actually, pulling up a little bit of statistics, it is shown that the digital media ad spend now of US-based companies has overtaken the traditional ad spends. So traditional ad spends, it includes your TV ads, newspaper ads, radio ads. While in digital media, it includes online ads, which you see in Facebooks or Google, Instagram. So all these things encompass the digital advertising. So, to point out the difference in terms of advantages of digital marketing. So, the first thing I would put up is it's very, very cost effective in terms that you have a lot of control when you are marketing your products in digital space, because the platform, be it Google or Facebook or any other platform, it offers you the option to control in a very micro level as to how much you're going to spend on your ads today. So I can analyze my ads and optimize it for tomorrow based on the results of today. So that level of control is there, which I would say is a big difference between traditional and digital ads. So another point would be I would be able to customize my ads. So in TV ads, that is not possible. So when I'm publishing an ad for my brand, it is the same for everybody, no matter what is your age, what is your gender. But in digital, I can actually specifically target audience. If you are a woman, you would be seeing this particular ad. If you are, if you're a senior citizen, you would be seeing only this ad. So I can customize it based on the target audience demographics. I think that is a really good difference and advantage. And like Priya said, hyper focusing is one really good advantage. I can really target based on the location that I want to send my ad to. So I think these are really good differences wherein it really shows how digital marketing has good advantage over traditional marketing.
I think the second question that we have is from Venkateshan. He says, what are the web technology options? How does one choose one for making their website?
Right. So, okay, in web technology, it really depends on what exactly you're looking for. So, if you are just looking for a website that communicates your brand story to your audience, I would say stick to really simple ones and focus. Don't really focus too much on technology, but focus on what you're communicating, the design, the navigation, and messaging part of it. So, for a simple website, I would suggest go with WordPress or a Wix website if you're looking at it. But if you are looking for an entire web application, that's a completely different thing. But one more point here is a lot of times when the founders or co-founders of a startup or technologists, programmers or engineers, what we all tend to do is we all tend to focus a lot on the technology and the functionality of the website, but we normally tend to lose out on the colors, the brand colors, or what the audience kind of feel about the website. So I think you should start taking that into consideration and let technology take the back seat when you are going to have a simple website for your brand. Put a lot of thought into navigation, the speed of the website, and how audience are going to communicate with it. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So actually from there, I will just take on few things when we looked at what technology to be used. There's a study which showing that there are about 70% of the population use mobile as a way of either searching for things or transacting or anything. So I think one of the things that we should remember is that your entire website should be mobile responsive site, and most of it should be very easy to load, and those are things that you might want to keep in mind while you're doing your website. There's another study which also shows that 60% of the population is already online, and if you're not really being found in the search, then it's as good as you being not existent. So you need to make sure that how will my website show up with the certain kind of keywords that I need to use for businesses or when somebody searches you online. So it's important to have that data thought about well before you even create the website content. Then sometimes we always look at my business can be only in Chennai and only in India or only in Tamil Nadu. So I would think that in order to have a global footprint, think of everything being global, so that you don't have to reinvent the curve again in terms of creating that. So when you make a website or when you make a design, it should be very global, so that your product or service can even be accessed by other people outside India or outside Tamil Nadu itself. So that is another thing that I would consider when I'm making a website for my business. There's important study that I will share it post our webinar today with the team. That is really a very very nice information to study, because in 2020 the new decade has actually got new milestones. And if you've seen in the last 5 years, most of the companies which are app driven or mobile driven have actually done very well. And the categories are like, home based, like anything like a smart home kind of apps, ride sharing, food, and digital advertising. So these are something which have risen in the last few years in terms of they being funded very well, or they've been ease of use, and also penetration into the market. So consider all these things when you are creating your product or when you're creating your marketing collateral or entire design of your software or your service as such. So there's about another study is about 300 million people come online for the first time in the past 12 months, which is huge, which means that all our clients are there out there. So I think there's no two ways about retargeting our marketing to anything else but being online today. Whether it's commercials, the TVCs are also performing very well, and like Kirtana mentioned, most of the cost is very well balanced, because you actually know where exactly you can pitch in terms of who your target is. There's another thing, before somebody asks the question, I want to tell is that can you believe it that India is, highest in terms of male viewers, like men who are using the internet. We have about 76% penetration of men over females, in on the internet, which means that there's a lot that somebody could target, or to these people catering to a certain kind of products and things like that. Another thing that I've noticed is when you're looking at digital marketing itself, so 43% of the population actually spend time on working, on the internet, but the remaining percentage of time is on browsing or doing whatever personal stuff that they want to. So that's the kind of time that is being spent, which means that influencer marketing is also another important aspect that one should consider, and not shy away from doing that. So these are some of the things that I thought from a marketing perspective that one should be aware about. A lot of times we just think that, okay, let's focus on one or two things, but not really concentrate on the other stuff. But in the digital space itself, you need to sort of space out as to what medium that you're going to be choosing and focus on that. Yeah. Pratishta's question is, what kind of marketing suits the starters better?
Sorry, 1 second, Priya. I think we missed out Venkatesan's follow-up question.
Go ahead.
Which is, so Venkatesan, on that part, for comprehensive or with a website with a lot more functionality. So my personal favorite would be to check out React.js and Laravel for the PHP framework. So there are a lot of tools, similar tools. So it's quite, it depends on what exact features that you're looking for. You could probably check this out. Yeah, on to you, Priya.
Yeah. So Pratishta's question is, what kind of marketing suits startups better, inbound or outbound? It's a good question, Pratishta, but I think you have to balance between the two, because if you it can't be both, cannot be ruled out, but you need to have a balance between the two. And if it is a service, I think it is more like an outbound marketing that you could think about. But my personal opinion in the last few years that I've been doing has been a balance between the two has really helped. Even if it's a startup, it really doesn't matter. So there's another question from David Roshan. How digital marketing can be used effectively to reach hospitals and doctors, especially in the current situation? Inputs, please. A great question. In fact, Kirtana and me were just talking a few days ago about this particular thing. So today, a lot of doctors are not even there online, and you really can't search them, right? And to reach them is going to be a challenge. So there are third-party tools like Practo or S10 and these kind of companies where you have certain doctors listed there, where you can reach them. But honestly speaking, doctors don't really sell their services online for you to know unless we go into each hospital website. Even there, they don't list the doctors. But the best way to do is through Practo. That's a good way of advertising on Practo. A good way to penetrate because most of them are using that as software. Kitna, you want to add something to that?
So, and probably another thing is, I think the younger doctors are now at least active in LinkedIn and other such professional platforms. So, probably you could consider LinkedIn as one of your primary mediums. You could, I'm not really sure about India especially, but in the West, doctors are especially, they're quite active in LinkedIn. So, that could be used as a medium. Especially, there are a lot of groups that caters only on medical news and healthcare kind of information. So a lot of doctors are quite active there. You could consider that definitely as one of the platforms. LinkedIn does offer extensive advertising features that you could really use to micro target. So you definitely could explore LinkedIn.
So, David Roshan, another point that you could think about is that there are a lot of online conferences that happen. I mean, today it will be online, but there are a lot of conferences that you could sort of participate in, and that's one way of reaching out to doctors. But I don't know if you've seen this portal called Health 2.0. This portal was started in the US, and it really has a lot of technology companies who advertise in that, and also a lot of doctors come for information about what's the latest in the market in terms of technology interventions. So that's another thing that you could check out. The conferences will really help you. At this time, I think you might want to register there and see if you could get that access to that. Then I think the next question is again from Venkateshan. Pre and post COVID, has anything changed in direct marketing? Are there any new aspects we need to consider owing to COVID? Kirtana, you want to take that?
So, okay, I would say post-COVID in digital marketing space, especially people are more and more moving towards the digital mediums, and the time that people have spent in digital platforms have only increased during this lockdown period in any country. So, I think post-COVID digital marketing is going to be more extensive, and the spend on digital advertising is going to increase compared to traditional advertising. Especially people are, newspaper advertising. A lot of people are even a bit scared to touch newspapers these days or any bill, any flyers or posters. So digital, I think advertising the spend is going to go up, and this is the right time for any startup to look at advertising themselves or marketing themselves in the digital spaces.
So, Venkatesh, I might want to ask you one question. Have you ever tried writing blogs about your product or a market research about the products that that's competing it with what you're trying to do? Have you tried that? You could probably try and see. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
you- yeah. Go ahead.
you're right. We are setting up an online music school,
Okay.
the traditional music of India, and
Mhm.
basically where we are trying to have a blog site attached to that to keep that going and keep it live, and also use it for a kind of a mailer campaign to our followers in that. So it's early stages when it comes to that, and I think there's going to be a lot more support required from people like you to take it forward, and by from Kirtana.
Sure.
Right. So actually, it's a really interesting concept. So I would really look into influencer marketing for that. So a lot of influencers, celebrities who are into singing and music related occasions. So I would really look into marketing through good influencers. But it's a really wonderful concept.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. In fact, I used to run a brick and mortar music school before this, before my current job. So I can understand where you're coming from, and we tried to see a lot of how we were selling the music. Was a music school was an important, uh, you know, challenge for us in those days. Now I actually can understand and relate to what you're trying to say. One other thing that you could think about is that it's good to sort of blitzkrieg the market on digitally with like what Kitna said, influencers and people who probably can sort of support the cause for what you're trying to do. But it is good to have it like just boom, go all out and do that, because that probably will create an impact. And it's like I would say it's like a mission. It's like somebody is trying to do something, and it sort of has a multi-level marketing kind of an effect. You could try that. It could work. I see today I can't say this works the best and that doesn't work. We have to try, because each product line is different. Each customer that I have is a different customer. So there are only my algorithm in the machine throws saying that if I like a dress, I will only like a dress which is like a kurta. It is not so. I might like music. So there are some things that the algorithms are getting worked out behind, and these can. So I could have interest in music. I could have interest in clothes, interest in art. There could be many things. So that's something which is constantly being updated, and they're working on it. So I think you also could look at cloning in the sense like people who have interest in, say, art could also be in music. So you could even try and do that for your target marketing. I don't know if I've answered your question, but yeah.
Thank you so much. Can I add a question over the voice, or should I only type?
No, it's okay. You could do.
You can go ahead, Venkatesan.
Yeah, okay. There's one other dilemma which we face is that today the price per session or the price per student is at a premium at the kind of a set of students we have, because of and also because of the value which we deliver. The concern is, how do you maintain this price per student or price per session when you go in on a mass scale? There is always a drop which happens with respect to once you start acquiring a higher volume. So from a marketing point of view, how do you ensure that your premium price tag is intact in spite of you going mass?
Probably one way would be, to segregate your audience. Not everybody would be probably willing to pay the premium price. But if you could introduce an intro program or something that kind of shows the audience what this course is about. So that could be priced a bit lower, and people that could be the first filtering mechanism wherein you attract the mass audience, a lot of people who come in, and that could be like a filtering mechanism where people who are really interested in paying the premium or who really understand the worth of the course could go through that. That would be a session from top of my mind. On to you, Priya.
Yeah. See, one other thing, I don't know if you've ever heard about the Shankar Mahadevan School, which was online in Bangalore.
Yes. Yes.
So when they had done it, they had spent a huge amount of money on infrastructure, setting it up and all that stuff. But they were also brick and mortar colleges at that time. So in order to have a mix of both, probably there's like, if you see any of the online courses that we see, whether it's Coursera or Linda and all of them world over, they always have free courses, starter courses, advanced courses. So I think your premium comes in the advance, and the attraction is for the free courses. So people get hooked onto it, and they sort of segue into these areas slowly. So you might want to consider that, so that you still maintain a premium for the best performer or the best faculty that is teaching, but get a lot of people as mass to come first and see and experience this whole new world of learning music online. I don't think it's new in the back there in the West, but it is very, very new in India. We've always looked at our guru to be there in front of us when we are learning music. But this could be a way that you could probably plan, saying that get them enticed, make them like, and you create that kind of an ambience for them to be a part of this. And then if they don't be a part of this, they're missing something. So that's the value that you probably want to create.
Thank you so much. I think that is very useful.
Thank you. Okay, there's a next question, which is how can startups effectively use Google AdWords, PPC, advertising both? I think this is very technical for Kirtana to answer. So I'll pass them to Kirtana.
Sure. Yeah. So a lot of times startups do make mistakes in Google Ads and PPC advertising and social media as well, which tend to be quite costly. So first thing that they need to remember is do a thorough keyword research on what keywords you're going to target and what is the competition for that keyword. So Google does provide keyword analysis tool, which is very helpful. So initially start off with analyzing keywords, listing out what are the target keywords. Another one is ads have to be really well designed, not just the image or the design part of it, but also the text content part of it. Because Google or even Facebook, they do quality check your ads. So Google gives your ad a quality score, which kind of shows how many times your ad is going to be clicked. So unless your quality score is high, you're going to be wasting a lot of money in ads that are not effectively converting. So that is something that you need to remember. Keyword analyze keywords and use only the correct keywords that you would want to target. Quality of the ads need to be really good. And so another one is you need to remember also the target audience part of it, not the keywords, but the target audience. What is their demographic? What is their age? Where are they? So unless you narrow it down, you're going to be wasting by sending your ad to everybody who are not going to convert. So doing audience profile targeting is very important. So another one that many startups don't use is retargeting. So they actually that kind of wastes a lot of money because when a lot of people visit your website, what you need to do is you need to integrate analytics to your website so that you have information on who has visited your website. So these people are already interested in your product or service offering. So now if you have this data with you and you are targeting this customers again, the conversion rate is going to be much higher. So this way your spend would be a lot lower. So these are a couple of points to remember in terms of Google or any PPC advertising for you to reduce cost. And analyze and optimize your ad on a regular basis, because otherwise you would not know how much you're spending on it. So you'd have to have an eye on it on a very, very regular basis.
Thank you, Kirtana. I have a question, a follow-on question. So
Sure.
Google AdWords tend to work out very expensive, like you mentioned. So what do you think the startups should be focusing on when they're just entering the market, especially the healthcare startups who have a very limited amount budgeted for marketing?
Okay, so it really depends on your target customers. One, if you are looking at the mass audience, you could think through social media ads. Facebook works out effectively. Facebook has Instagram as well, which is effective. But for B2B marketing, definitely LinkedIn, there is no other match to LinkedIn in terms of B2B. So you could use LinkedIn's lead generation campaign. You can specifically target the industry of your audience, the designation of the audience that this ad is going to show. So you can go into that amount of detail so that you're not wasting money in showing your ads to the wrong people. So lead generation campaign and LinkedIn would be definitely an effective solution for B2Bs. And PPC, I would say, unless a lot of your customers are going to search for your service, it really doesn't make sense for Google's paid ads, I would say. So is it a product that people are going to search to come and avail your service? So you need to think of that as well. So am I answering your question? If you have any specific detail about your product or service, I might be able to help better.
Thank you, Kirtana. This was just for a generic question for the startups. I think it's well answered. Thank you.
Just to add on to that, Pratishtha, maybe a few other things that you can think about also. There is only a certain amount that you can grow organically. Okay, so the algorithms in Facebook or Instagram is going to prevent you from growing beyond that. You have to spend, but ideally speaking, any entrepreneur should not think that marketing is not required for them. They have to have that factored in it. Typically, I would think that in the initial days, when you're launching a product, at least 20% of your budget should be allocated for marketing, because without that, you're not going to get any customers. And if you don't get customers, you're going to face failure. So it is a cycle. So if you don't put money, you won't get money. It's simple. What you put, what you get.
So
Yeah.
just sorry, last question. So we usually I think most deep tech startups are very focused on the development part and forget about customer attraction or marketing. So at what time, what stage of the company or development should they engage with a marketing consultant? Do you think is the ideal time? Because it's obviously not possible for them to manage everything.
Right. So we all should be aware that we are not, we are not having 10 hands and 10 heads. So we need to sort of concentrate on what is our core, and let the people who have the core expertise in certain areas to sort of work hand in hand with the people who do not know what needs to be done. So in order to have a right timing, I would think that once the product is 70 or 80% ready, the marketing agency should start working with the teams in order to ideate the whole thing, because it takes a lot of time to ideate the whole product launch itself, or a GTB, go to market strategy. So in order to have that in place, about when the product is about 70 to 80% ready, that's when they could probably interact with the marketing companies or professionals who can help them out to be out there in the market. So it would be like you could start off with something which is a trivia based marketing, I would say, wherein you create that kind of an interest. Like you see, that's a trend which they follow on the billboards. Like earlier they used to have a person with a tonsured head, and everybody looks at that. It is the concept is like a guerrilla marketing: spend little money and have eyeball rolling. So we could even look at that to begin with, and that doesn't really cost so much money. So that's one way of attracting more and more customers into your fold even before you launch the product. So we have about 20% still to be finalized. So sometimes you might want to take feedback from the market and sort of restructure your product to be really 100% foolproof by the time you're out in the market. So these are some of the things that you could plan and think. But ideally, I would think that you should be having a balance between the two. Product and marketing, very, very important. And if you don't think of marketing and you think there's somebody who's going to come and do magic, it's not going to work. So have a rightful thought process in your business plan itself, that marketing is a very important function. Like how my development is, how HR is, how finance is, marketing is another function, and sales is another function. There are very, very different, what do you call, a difference between the sales and marketing is very, very high. Marketing is to promote what the product is. Sale is actually when it converts. So that again, there's a problem. People don't understand. They think marketing and sales is together. So I don't know if I've answered your question, Pratishta.
Yes, you have. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Venkateshan has got Google AdWords versus Facebook marketing. I think Kitna did answer, but
Before that, I think
You need
Aishwarya
to address the Aishwarya question, ma'am.
Aishwarya
So
has
how
asked,
to
how
retain
do you
followers
follow
in
them? Yeah.
social media
Okay,
platforms?
I'll probably just take 1 minute of this one, because see, I've seen people how they bucket their days of the week in terms of engaging with their followers. Okay, so there are two schools of thought. One could be extremely professional, which means that I only will do thrice a week a certain post, but the post cannot be like a poster all the time. It has to have activity. It has to have some story. It has to have a video. So depending on the day of the week or the month of the year, you could actually have your content strategy in place, saying that okay, Monday mornings can only be preaching. Okay, I'm going to say, okay, get over the Monday morning blues and get on to something. So that could be a preaching kind of a Monday morning. Tuesday can be something. Thursday can be something. So it all. But I would think that personally, I would not overcrowd my followers. I will just give them right kind of inputs at the right time, and maybe one day of the week I would sort of let them peep into my personal life, which is very nice to connect as a brand. That's my answer. But Kirtana, you could.
Yeah. So just to add on to that, to give you an example as well. So one is audience tend to follow or remain following a brand because they really like the content. For example, for instance, I do like following Swiggy or Dunzo, not because they if they keep on posting just about their service every day, I might get bored and it's like they're just blasting their advertisements at me. But their content is really funny. A lot of their content makes me think, and it kind of brightens your day a lot of times. So that is one. Another could be educative content. So we do follow, even in Bungee's social media page, we do post a lot of educative content for aspiring digital marketers or for entrepreneurs who want to understand the basics of digital marketing. So either the content has to be inspirational or funny or educative. So I think these are good ways to. But the base point of this is a brand needs to add value for a customer to remain following them. So unless there is a value for me on following some brand, I'm just not going to follow them anymore.
Great. So I'm moving on to the next question. For Carnatic music online school, which is the right method for targeting new student sign up? The top three must do in social media marketing. Um, okay.
Yeah, so I'm also going to combine your previous question wherein you asked Google AdWords versus Facebook marketing as well. Yeah, so considering that it's a Carnatic music school, I would definitely think that many people are going to be searching in Google as well on Carnatic music classes online. So, how you use Facebook marketing and Google marketing can be completely different in terms of what you're trying to accomplish. One, Facebook marketing can be used first specifically for your brand to build awareness of your brand. So I would say any parents that have children starting from age 3 until age 10 to 15 might be interested in that, right? So one way is using Facebook to just build awareness of your brand through advertising and targeting only parents, who are located in probably Tamil Nadu or whichever demographics you think would be interested in that. And then you can even target by their language setting to see if this particular set of people would be interested in learning Carnatic music. So I would say Facebook marketing should be used for building your brand awareness, and Google ad could still be definitely used because if somebody wants to avail service or if they are looking for music classes for their children, they're going to be searching for it in Google. So you could definitely target those keywords and show your ads to them for immediate conversion, because these people are already looking for such kind of service, and that might increase the chances of Google ads converting. While Facebook is definitely used, you could use it for remarketing to these people who have already visited your website through Google Ads. Show them, the Facebook ads so that you keep reminding them about your brand. I think this could be used. And for top three must in social media marketing for you, I would say, like I said earlier, one is engage with influencers, because music is definitely a field that many people are interested in, especially parents for their children. So you could engage with different types of influencers. It could be musicians, or it could be just parenting influencers, or any art influencers. I think this using influencer marketing in Instagram or Facebook would definitely be build a lot of awareness about your brand. So that is one. Another point I would probably do is again add value in social media. Probably bring in a lot of guest musicians to give quick interviews or quick knowledge sharing about what your brand is about, or just general music knowledge sharing. I think that would bring in a lot of traction into your social media page. And yeah, so I think the baseline should be to add value and engage with relevant people to bring your brand name out there. Anything you'd want to add on to that, Priya?
Yeah. So in typically, when in marketing, there's a little not a proverb, but I would say a connotation that everybody refers to is, a McDonald's burger. If I say it's great and you should eat it, nobody is going to. I mean, anybody will not. So, but somebody says, you know what, I tried it the other day, and the entire thing is like so seamless and beautiful, and the way they present it, I really love the taste. So there's always that word of mouth which will actually add value to your product. So get out there and talk to influencers. The very, very important thing. Somebody else telling that this is good. So that is why you see that a lot of people today, when they're doing something, a product or a service, they try to give it to influencers so that they can influence. But again, there's a threshold. obviously the right people have to be chosen to influence your product. So make sure that you choose the right persons for that. I think word of mouth is a great way of increasing your tribe. I hope that gives you some bit of idea about how you could start off on that. Then I think CEO incubation. Muthu is asking, can you describe some of the useful online marketing tools what one could use? Like, is it the advertising tools or is it the creation tools? I really don't know, but probably the tools that can be used, Kirtana can show more light. But personally, when I have to use anything to create, I use Canva. There's a free version of it, and I use it to create my posters, which are simple and nice. And I think all of you could use it. It's a very easy tool to learn. Other than that, for marketing tools, Kirtana, maybe you could throw some more light on that.
Yeah. So another important tool that a lot of people use for social media, especially to automate your content posting, is there are a lot of social media content automators. Like Hootsuite is one of them. So there are a lot of these tools which you would definitely save time for you. And HubSpot has its own suite of customer relationship management and automation tools for marketing. That is definitely worth checking out. And last would be probably Google Analytics. Google Analytics, I cannot really insist on it more. I would definitely suggest anybody who has a website should use it to understand your audience better, and that would give you deep insights on how you have to market to them. So these would be some basic tools that any person can look for marketing their brand.
Great. So Gayatri is asking a question. How often do we update the content in social media marketing? Should we have a structure schedule based on what to post and where to post based on the details discipline deciphered from the analytic tools? Yeah, definitely. It's a way to go is to have a content plan in place. Ideally, I would think that if it's for the month of July, I should be ready with what I want to post by the previous month, 20th, so that I can schedule it, create all the creatives for that, and then start posting it accordingly. Should we have a structured schedule? Yes, without any doubt. And based on details, yeah. You see, the interventions that you might want to do in between could only be readjusting. Sometimes it could be that there are certain days that you want to probably talk about. It could be Ocean Day, or there are so many days today that you want to talk. So if it is connecting to your business, like sustainability and all that, you could actually add those posts. Either it could be ad hoc, or it could be just a story that you want to add. So those things can be as and when basis. But definitely to have a plan is a great idea. You could do a plan for a quarter and then break it down to monthly, so that you know what you need to do in the month 3, month 2, and month 1 accordingly. So if I had to plan for an e-commerce clothes brand, I would plan for 3 months, because I would know I build up the whole thing. For that, there's a festival season that I want to target people to buy some stuff from me. I would actually have them plan out the whole thing so that they keep watching. And then as the days are getting closer to the event, I would sort of ramp up my plan a little higher. So that's one way of looking at things.
Yeah. So, like Priya said, I would also suggest that in social media, especially, consistency is the key. So, if a brand or a business posts like today and disappears for next 2 weeks and then starts posting every day, so it's going to be really annoying for the users or followers as well. So, I would suggest, like Priya said, to have a very consistent plan, but just not stick to it completely as well. You need to keep your circumstances in mind as well. Like for example, we had planned for March and April for our clients, but suddenly with the lockdown and COVID situation, we had to go and rework everything. So, and you need to be really mindful of what is happening, what the current news is as well, when you are automating a lot of these processes.
Gayatri, it will be very good to keep your eyes and ears open to the situations around you and act accordingly. Because it's very important that your brand should be looked upon as a brand which has got values. And these are all the things that will help you to create a great value if you're mindful about how you're marketing or projecting your service or your offering. So that's a very important thing. Pratishtha, what would what would be some of the B2B marketing strategies, considering very few startups target the consumers, beneficiaries. Okay. B2B is again, in today's time, we can only think of 2 or 3 ways. One is LinkedIn and direct calling. Direct calling is very, very difficult because there's a high chances of rejection and calls not being answered or ignored. So I would think still that I would do a mail campaign with them. Again, it will really help me enter into their mind space when they are free to read what I have to offer to them. So a Mailchimp, or I'm actually, we in our organization we use 2 3 different tools. There are Zoho has got its own tool, and Fresh Sales, and then there's Lead Square. These are all the tools that one could use in terms of doing a B2B marketing. And again, as I said from the beginning, there's no right way. You have to try 2 3 different ways and figure out what suits your business better, and then stick to it and amend it as as we go along. Like a simple thing like COVID has really changed everybody's way of looking at things online. So that's one of the things that you really need to consider. For startups, I always feel that I've been mentoring a lot of them, especially women startups. I find that they all have a great idea, they want to implement something, but the whole thing comes down into a zero standstill point when they do not know how to market it. Because so that's very important exercise that one needs to do. When you are drawing your plan, you should also know who your customers are even before. That really helps you a lot of times to waste. I mean, you don't even waste your time. So that's the first exercise I ask everybody to do. Know your customer. If you don't know to whom you're making, then there's no point in even you creating what you're creating. So it's very important. Don't leave marketing as your stepbrother or a stepsister. You have to involve the whole thing within your ambit of what you're planning to do. So that's the thing. And but targeting that, which the moment you know this is your target, it becomes very, very easy to sort of focus on them. See, today, whether it's Facebook or Google or Instagram, it's got a very, very target and hyper focused advertising tools that one could use. So if you're targeting age between say 25 to 35, you can actually do location, actually do that near neighborhood, areas. So it's really very, very hyper focused. So use that technology that you have with the knowledge that you have brought in the business. So it has to sort of marry together.
Right.
So
And
that's
also to add on to what Priya said, so and also to tie up with what I earlier said, one another important point, even it could be B2B or B2C. Another important point that you should do is add in value. To give you just an example, so we being a digital marketing firm, we use a lot of marketing automation tools. So just when COVID started off, there was everybody was thinking, so what is now the marketing strategy going to be? Should we be looking at something very specific? So a HubSpot and a lot of these marketing automation tools. So what they did is they published white papers and ebooks for us as resources to read about that. So it was freely published and advertised in LinkedIn. So as a lead generation campaign. So as a digital marketing firm, we go and enter our data, our contact details for downloading that. Now they've already generated our lead. So they're going to show us their advertisements and make us purchase their product. So give them some resources, consider what your target audience is looking for, and give them some very useful resource. And start off. That could be a starting point for your lead generation as well.
Sumitra, what are the downsides of digital marketing that should be considered by startup businesses? Downsides of digital marketing? I think important is be ethically very correct. So if you do not, have your product ethics out there, that's a downfall, I would think. Because if you are telling my product is white and it has to be white, you cannot sell a black. So immediately there would be reviews and people would just sort of kill you as a brand online, which is a very you cannot stop it, and there's no way that you can stop that. So you need to be absolutely clear, ethically right, and contextually correct in terms of how you're positioning yourself on the digital space. Because if I have to look at two things, like if I'm doing an ad in the paper, the life of the ad in the paper is just one day, and after that I have to really look for it. Whereas in digital, it's already there. Your online reputation management is extremely important, and I think it's a must that we need. Like how we think about, being right in a lot of things, you should be right even on online, and never ever, have false claims, and not be able to hold that, through the cycle of your product, delivery and things like that. So you have to be ethically right. Information should be correct. Also, whenever you have the look and feel should be really great. If you don't, then you're again putting your brand down. So I would think, these are some of the important things that you need to consider when you are up there, out in the open, because there are so many people who are seeing that, and you need to be really cool and looking nice. So it's like how you present yourself when you go for a meeting. It's like that.
Thank you, ma'am. I think the participants are really valued with your opinions. Can you add final comments for the startups, ma'am? Because still we have 5 minutes to
Yeah,
go.
so there's one more question by Venkateshan. When moving from one web dev partner to another, friendly parting ways, what are the aspects one should take care in making the transition? Um,
Yeah.
Venkatesh, I
Okay.
actually had two episodes wherein I really was, challenged in terms of why I didn't do that correctly. So it's important that every time that you are creating digital assets for your company, you make sure that you are a part of that. Do not leave it to a third party to sort of manage your, digital assets. It's like as good as a company name. So you have to be very, very, very careful about how to keep that assets with you, which means the login, username, password should always be at with you. And because I don't say that the agencies are bad, but it could just take one trigger that can sort of get you into the bad books of anybody. So make sure that all the digital asset passwords and username that you have are all under your control. Very, very important. And when you're transitioning, make sure that the entire database of what you have is on the digital space to be transitioned in a way that it's all backed up and kept, and I think Kitna can throw more light on that,
Yeah,
but
so
this is
a
how.
very important point to add in there is domain name. So a lot of, this is something that we have faced a lot as well with our clients. So, they tend to not have their domain name access. So the agency buys domain names under their account. So they're never going to get access to the domain name if they're going to shift agency. So always buy domain names in your create, ask the agency, to create GoDaddy or any other hosting sites username and password that is linked to your mobile name, your mobile ID, and your phone number, so that the domain access is completely with you as well as the hosting access. So this is completely important. So anything else, it could be the WordPress password, admin password, all those are secondary. But if you have the domain access and your hosting access, you're okay. Your data still, we can retrieve your data. So these two are very important. Always buy domain name under your account ID and have hosting under your account as well. So these are really important too. But that's a great question actually. That's a very, very, it's a very consistent mistake that a lot of people make.
Yeah, many of them miss that out, because you just give it. It's like, you trust everybody. It's a factor of trust, yes, but it's good to have, because you get alerts on any changes, or if your password is expired, or if your domain name is, the data is expired or something. You first get the information, and then you can actually call them up and ask, what should I do, or things like that. So yes, that brings us to the end of the question and answer session. Personally, I feel so satisfied today to be answering some great questions that people asked, and I hope that you all go back today with some more extra knowledge. I won't say 100%, but at least you're right there, maybe at about 50%. But it's great, talking to you all, and I really enjoyed the session.
Yeah, so it was wonderful for me as well. And also, I would suggest, like, if you guys want to know more about how different aspects of digital marketing could help you, we do in Bungie, our social media, every week we do post a lot of informative stuffs and blogs about this. So you can definitely follow us to know more about this. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you once again for your support and time. So we will be uploading the session video on our YouTube channel for the people who missed the session. Can we upload, ma'am?
Sure. Please
Sure.
do. You can tag us. We'll share with you our credentials where you could tag us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much so much.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay. I kindly request the participants to fill the feedback form, and feedback form will be uploaded in the chat box. This will help us to improve our session. So I will upload the link in the chat box. So there is a link in the chat box. So you can click the link and you can fill the feedback form.